Freddie Freeman returned to the Dodgers. It was emotional. It was inspiring. It was a lot, and the Dodgers were winners. So that was a good part. Let's talk about Tyler Glasnow being an ace. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. The playoffs winding or done, and the sports stop sporting like we want them to. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with the booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. And you can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and being notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live like we are here on Monday night. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. My name is Vince Samperio, joined by my coach, Jeff Snyder. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have spent a decade covering the team in a few different ways. One of those ways being this here podcast. So we've watched a lot of Dodger games. We've written about the Dodgers. We've talked a lot about the Dodgers. And, the Dodgers have been a big part of our life. And we're here to continue that in the sense of talking about the Dodgers because the Dodgers returned home. Freddie Freeman returned to the team. And the Dodgers got a big win and are on the verge of passing up the Phillies for best record in the National League.
Yeah, that's kind of wild for as poorly as the Dodgers have been playing lately. That kind of tells you how poorly the Phillies have been playing, that this was kind of the battle of the teams that have been underperforming lately. And luckily the Dodgers came out on top. But, I mean, the story of this game was Freddie Freeman. You were there. I was watching on TV, and it was emotional from where I was sitting. I can only imagine what it was like in the stadium.
Yeah, it was, we got a note from the Dodgers PR that Freddie was going to meet with the media ahead of the game. And, I just generally expected a quick update. I don't think Freddie really owed us that. Like, there's no reason for him to have to tell us what's going on with his son and his family. But, he came in and he kind of just gave a full rundown. Very emotional, broke down a couple of times, not fully, but, broke down and had a pause and everything else. And, by the end of it, we were there for 30 minutes with Freddie Freeman, kind of talking about different things and going through all the emotions that he went through. So I think for him, it was probably a little bit helpful in the sense of, kind of talking about it and getting back to normal and, him apologizing for not providing updates before. It seemed just kind of funny to me, but he's one of those type of guys. And yeah, from there to all the Dodgers and guys in the organization wearing the Max Strong shirts to that first at bat when Freddie came up and, had the long standing ovation and, guys on the Phillies acknowledging him and all that type of stuff. It was definitely, an unexpected emotional night for sure.
Yeah, I was, I'm glad Freddie came back tonight. I was a little bit jealous because I'll be at the game tomorrow. And I kind of wanted to be a part of that. I assume the ovation maybe not be quite as big, but, for probably 35,000 of the people in the stands tomorrow, it'll be their first time watching Freddie play since he came back. And so the fan reaction will probably be pretty similar. And ultimately, Freddie's play on the field, he did get a hit. He didn't really factor in the win, but you could kind of tell that for everybody on the team, he really did factor in the win, just having Freddie back in the lineup.
Yeah, and that was big. Obviously just having him in the lineup, and he kind of talked about what that last week was when he was there. And, the Giants series, he basically said like he was there physically, but not really mentally. That's when kind of some of the issues started coming up. And, they spent one of the nights in the hospital, and one of the nights he got just an hour of sleep. And, obviously a lot going on in his mind. And then, ended up traveling to Houston because they thought they had got the diagnosis and we're going to figure out exactly what was going on. And then turns out that wasn't the case. And that's why he had to fly back because, Max had to go back to the emergency room, and they weren't really sure what was going on. So obviously a scary time for him. And he got asked about kind of thinking of, or the baseball part of his life during all this, and he said, I didn't think about baseball once during all of this. They asked him about getting back into basically baseball mode now mentally, and he said, I can't give you the answer of how I'm going to do it or how it's going to be because I don't know yet. He did say that he took some swings off the tee the last couple of days, and he really liked his swing. So and him getting a hit was a good ode to that. But yeah, it's a lot going on. We as Dodger fans, we've seen guys go on bereavement lists and things of that nature, but nothing to this extent in terms of like a child, or I guess there was, but just different variations of it. But yeah, it was one of those things where they're still regular people just like we are, and they go through things just like everyone else does. And it's just as scary for him as it is for anyone else that's out there.
Yeah, and I was glad to hear him say that he just didn't pay attention at all to baseball. That's what you would hope he would be able to do. And I was glad that he was able to do that. And just everything, like seeing him and Bryce Harper embrace after his hit, the Phillies were awesome about this. Obviously, Major League Baseball had communicated with the umpire, Marvin Hudson, I always remember Cody Bellinger's first time back at Dodger Stadium as a visiting player, and he gets called for a pitch clock violation because of the ovation. I'm glad that Major League Baseball has figured out a little bit how to handle those situations better. And the Phillies were great. Aaron Nola and that catcher's name, I can't remember his name right now, the little tiny catcher for the Phillies. Anyway, they made sure that Freddie got his moment, and it was great. I think that Freddie said after the game that Harper texted him several times over the last week and a half. Was very, they're friends. They've been competing against each other for a decade now. And, obviously you build that camaraderie. And so to see that it goes beyond what uniform you wear and just, their husbands, their dads, their friends, and being there for each other. I thought it was pretty cool. It went beyond baseball. And, the cool part is in the baseball part, that went well too for the Dodgers.
Yeah, it was a big win on an emotional night. I'm sure a lot of the guys felt some type of way, especially, a lot of these guys being dads on the team. It's hard not to get wrapped up in it. Joe Davis on the broadcast mentioned that, he cried during the press conference. He, would cry during that first at bat. He's probably going to cry later. Like there was a lot, going on around the Dodgers in general. So it was good to see that win. One of the reasons for that win was Tyler Glasnow pitching very, very, very well. Not getting helped out by his defense, but he pitched through it, and the Dodgers made it work, and the bullpen shut it down. So we'll get into more of that, especially Glasnow. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, h-vac, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TN and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check out our pal Sully for your second listen of the day. He's host of the Locked On MLB podcast, and he's got his humor that helps you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also part of the Locked On Podcast Network is Locked On Sports today on Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Locked On Dodgers postcast with host Pete Fox is available live after most Dodger games on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. All right, Jeff. So Tyler Glasnow got the start and started off hot, striking out the side in that first inning. By the end of the night, he had gone 6 innings. He had struck out 9, and he did end up, giving up 3 runs. Although the runs aren't all just his fault because he did have 2 outs. He did get fairly, I wouldn't say routine, but a 95% catch probability. Maybe he does fall into the routine category. And Andy Pages could not make the play. They ended up getting 2 runs after that because of a little single back to Glasnow, wild pitch, a base hit. And but it looked like it was one of those where, this is going to be annoying. But Glasnow got out of it, gave up just 1 run the rest of the way, and it was good to see.
Yeah, really, the offense picked him up after that, which was good. And it was good because 2 of the people that helped pick him up on offense were 2 of the guys who had some issues that inning. Andy Pages had an RBI double, and Teoscar Hernandez, kind of the unsung opposite of hero on in that inning defensively. Pages misjudged the fly ball. It should have been caught. It was, right now, those are earned runs. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Glasnow appeals and tries to get that changed to an error because that's 2 earned runs that shouldn't be on his ledger. But also, after that ball hit the wall and bounced towards left center, Jason Hayward had to make that play. I hope that Hayward went to Teoscar in the dugout and said, "Hey, dude, I'm older than you. I should not have been fielding that ball. You should have been, And then the next play, the hit, Teo kind of played it lazily too, played that into a double. It was, we've seen Teo's issues in left field, and we've seen Pages's issues in center field, and we saw both of those in that inning. Pretty frustrating. Luckily, it didn't kill the Dodgers because, like I said, the offense, including those 2 guys, picked it up, scored 4 runs off Nola, and then later got an insurance run. But yeah, Glasnow was outstanding. Like he was what you hope for from him. Even when he got into hitters counts, he was able to make his pitch, which is hard to do as a pitcher. And so to make his pitches in counts where it's not easy to do against a really good Phillies. I know the Phillies have been struggling. They're still a very good hitting team, a very good baseball team. And Glasnow made them look, other than that 1 inning, he made them look pretty ineffective.
Yeah, he got 17 swings and misses. He actually led with the slider. He threw 42 sliders, 35 fastballs, 14 curveballs. He got the swing and miss pretty much between the slider and fastball, 7 on the slider, 8 on the four seam, and then a couple on the curveball. But yeah, I mean, he had everything working, and it's one of those where that's the Tyler Glasnow that you hope to see when it comes down to pitching in October. And that's the type of stuff that the swing and miss, the strikeout, getting past the, that was very typical of a Dodger playoff game where like you have your ace going, they get a couple cheap runs early in the game, and then most of the time it feels like the offense doesn't get the guys back, and then the Dodgers are in a weird game. But the Dodgers did get Glasnow's back on offense in this one. But yeah, it's with the uncertainty of the rest of the rotation at the moment, in the sense of you really don't know who's behind Glasnow. I guess Flaherty now steps up into that number 2 role, but you don't necessarily know beyond that, or if Flaherty's back a hold up, Yamamoto's supposed to keep throwing another bullpen and go from there. But for Glasnow to be that guy that Dodgers traded for, that they signed to an extension against a team that's ahead of them in the standings, in the sense of getting a playoff seed, it was just great to see.
Yeah, and against the Phillies, who the Dodgers just played the Phillies a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't look good. They in fact, they looked really bad. And we all walked away from that series thinking, well, the Phillies are definitely the better team. And I think that what this shows is that the Phillies were on a hot streak, and even really good teams can get on cold streaks. And that's kind of what makes the playoffs so infuriating sometimes as Dodger fans, is that really good Dodger teams get on cold streaks at the worst possible times. But what we saw here is, and really in the last two games of the previous series in Philadelphia, they were close games. The first game was a blowout. The other two games, the Dodgers easily could have won those games. And this game, the Dodgers could have lost. Anthony Banda got lucky. He probably should have walked Brandon Marsh to load the bases. He got a little help from the umpire, and then the next pitch he got a little help from Marsh and got out of that inning. If he walks him, then his base is loaded, and it's Evan Phillips facing Nick Castellanos probably. And so that could have been, little things. Baseball is always a game where little things could go differently, and the Dodgers could have lost this game. They didn't, which is awesome. But I do think that the last three games these teams have played against each other kind of show that they are somewhat evenly matched and why they are within half a game of each other for best record in the National League, because they're both really good teams. No team is perfect, but the Dodgers definitely, seeing Tyler Glasnow perform like that against a playoff team was really encouraging for me. Knowing that they have Flaherty, if they can have that version of Glasnow and the version of Flaherty we saw the other day, you feel a lot better. And of course, since I'm talking to Vince, I got to mention. And then if the offense shows up, then they'll be okay in the postseason. But the pitching is going to have to do it, and I'm feeling better about that a little bit after this game.
Yeah, definitely. We can, switch up back to the offense a little bit. Just, kind of going through, Aaron Nola is a guy that has pitched well against them. Dave Roberts mentioned it before the game, and obviously he's a good pitcher overall. But, the Dodgers were able to get runs off him in a couple different ways. There was a couple doubles drove in a run and then a base hit. They had, the 2-run homer from Teo. That was obviously a big one. Shohei adding the insurance, not off Nola, but adding an insurance run later in the game. And it's one of those where this is what, the Dodgers offense can do. It's Ohtani, does something. Obviously, Will Smith in a really bad slump and, probably deserves a segment here in the next couple of days, but we'll get to him. And, Teo comes through. Freddie had to hit and wasn't in the moment where they needed to hit, but, could have been. And then, you get the bottom of the order kind of contributing with Hayward and Pages and everything else. But I guess specifically on Pages, we talked about the misplay in center field, and over the last month, his OPS is under 500, or maybe the last few weeks. Definitely the last, month, he's under 600 for sure. Like, with such a clear defensive upgrade in Kiermaier and, hopefully some other guys here in the near future that might change Pages' status as a major leaguer anyways. But can the Dodgers afford to keep running him out there if he's not hitting and not playing defense?
Yeah, he's going to have to hit for sure. And the fact is, even with this, he hasn't hit a home run since June 18th. That's a long time for a guy with Pages' power. We've heard a couple times the last couple of days about how his batting practices have been really impressive and the power is still there. But if there's one thing we've learned about baseball is it's harder when somebody's trying to get you out. And if Pages doesn't regain that power, that's a big concern. I don't think Kiermaier is necessarily a risk to supplant him in the lineup, no matter how much better the defense is. Kiermaier, unless he remembers how to hit, it's going to be, I think Kiermaier right now is a black hole on offense, and I don't know if you can afford that. But Pages hasn't been, tonight he was good, but overall he hasn't been significantly better than a black hole, which kind of leads me back to Tommy Edman may be the answer. We'll have to see what their plans are for him. But the fact is, with Edman and Kiermaier, the Dodgers are going to have, and even James Outman, the Dodgers are going to have three guys at least who are significantly better defensive options than Andy Pages. And if any one of those guys hits at all, Pages is in danger of losing his job, I think.
Yeah, and realistically, we got updates on, Mookie's still on track to come back. Tommy Edman is trending well. I saw him running out there before the game and didn't see any issue with the ankle. Max Muncy could start a rehab assignment as early as this weekend, Dave Roberts said, so he'll make his way back. So, realistically, when those three guys come back, Pages doesn't even have a roster spot, and the Dodgers will figure out center field, whether it's Mookie or Edman or whatever the case is. So, yeah, it's one of those where there's some guys on the team that really need to start hitting right now, because there is going to be one spot. Like, if Chris Taylor even makes it back at some point this season and the Dodgers want to bring him back, one of Kike Hayward, and I guess mostly those, and Kiermaier are probably not going to be on the team. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure. That Kevin Biggio already lost his job when they activated Freddie Freeman. I wondered, we talked the other day about how they might hold off on DFAing Biggio just in case Freddie does need to take some more time off. They must be pretty confident that Freddie is back to stay, or at least that Kike can hold down first base for a game here and there if necessary. And they ended up needing that roster spot on the 40-man roster because then they activated Brusdar Graterol, put Blake Treinen on the IL. But yeah, like you said, on the offense side, we'll talk more about the bullpen in the next segment, but on the offensive side, there are a lot of guys whose jobs are not safe right now. Obviously, Miguel Rojas said he's ready to go. It's basically just waiting on the Dodgers. When Rojas comes back, I assume that Nick Ahmed gets DFA'd because you definitely don't need Miguel Rojas and Nick Ahmed since they're the same exact player. You stick with the one who has got you there and has a little bit more offensive upside probably. And then you definitely don't need all those center fielders. So James Outman or Andy Pages, one of those guys is for sure going down, and maybe both of them. And then Kike Hernandez, we'll see. He had a hot weekend in Oakland. We'll see if he can earn keeping his spot, because with Edman coming back, Kike kind of becomes superfluous as far as a utility player. There's some tough decisions coming up that are going to be I don't envy the people who have to make those decisions.
Yeah, one of those decisions came in the form of the IL, as you just mentioned, with Treinen and Graterol coming back. Michael Gross supposed to come back. But we'll get into the bullpen specifically for this game and then the greater bullpen conversation. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Here at Locked on Dodgers, one of us loves sports, one of us loves baseball mostly. But either way, we are into sports, and you don't really want sports to stop. Even if baseball season's over, you still want other things going on. But baseball season's still going on, but all the other sports are kind of on break right now, and the sports just aren't quite doing what we like them to do. But FanDuel is here to help. They let you keep the sports going whenever you want, because all you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. You can build out same game parlays. If you had thought that Glasnow was going to get, 9 strikeouts, you could have put the over on, I would imagine his range was 6.5 or 7.5. You could have put the over. If you thought Ohtani was going to hit a home run, you could have put, the over on that one. And you could have done a couple other things here with FanDuel, and you could have built out a nice little same game parlay for that game. But you remember, you can do it for tomorrow's game too. It just won't be Glasnow. It'll be Kershaw. And, it depends on how much faith you have in that. You can decide what to do there. So go check out FanDuel. Head over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, an everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. We appreciate you if you are one. If you're not one and you're not ready to commit to being an everydayer, you can become an almost everydayer and just add one extra episode to your week. We're here for you every Monday through Friday for about 30 minutes. You can also go beyond the podcast, come on Locked on Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get updates from us via text. And, if you were a Locked on Dodgers Insider, you got a video of some of these guys recovering and coming back for the Dodgers soon, doing their workouts on the field. And you get other stuff like that. And you can text us if you have anything else for us. If you have any questions or comments, you can also send those. So go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. All right, Jeff. So Blake Treinen on the IL, it was one of those injuries that we hadn't heard of something bothering him. But, at this point of the year, maybe everyone has a little bit wrong with them, or a little bit that they could use a breather for. So he goes on the IL. Brusdar Graterol is activated. I thought we for sure were going to see him last in the game, but we didn't. But we did see some guys, a new guy, a guy that has kind of slotted his way into getting some high leverage situations, and maybe the new closer for the Dodgers. We saw Michael Kopech get the 7th. He shut things down. We saw Anthony Banda get the 8th after closing out the game on Sunday So he's now been in the game in 1-run situations in the 9th and 8th inning of back-to-back games. And then we saw Daniel Hudson get to close it out in the 9th. Is this shift in maybe some of the high leverage guys, especially Banda, surprising, or just maybe the Dodgers trying stuff out?
I mean, they're trying stuff out and guys are earning their spots. When I kind of looked at after they got wow, I still haven't remembered that little tiny catcher to Garrett Stubbs. After they got him out, after Kopech got him for the last out of the 7th inning, I kind of knew, okay, so it's Schwarber, Trey, and Harper coming up in the 8th inning. And I started wondering who they're going to go with, because really there's 4 decent options there. You have the 2 lefties, and Banda and Vessi have both been, about as good against lefties as righties, and vice versa this year. They're not really big platoon split pitchers this year. And so both of those guys made sense. But also Daniel Hudson and Brusdar Graterol are both traditionally very tough against lefties and righties. And so there was really 4 good options for that inning. And I liked the pick of Banda. I thought it was a good chance for him. I started to immediately regret it when he walked Schwarber and then looked like he was going to walk Marsh. But the strikeout of Harper was huge. Kind of playing on Harper's aggressiveness, knowing when they come out for a mound visit in the middle of the at-bat, and just kind of knowing, okay, Harper's thinking he's just going to try to get the ball over to me. So he's going to be aggressive, throwing back-to-back sliders, getting the swing and miss on those, and then strike him out with a fastball. And that was just a great at-bat for Banda, a great way to navigate one of the toughest hitters in baseball. And I thought that was awesome, which I think it's little things like that where you get these moments for these guys that can actually become pretty significant in, later in the season. Like Banda is probably a little bit more confident in his stuff after striking out Bryce Harper than he was, coming into the outing. And, maybe learned a thing or two about walking Schwarber after having him 0-2. You can learn from those mistakes too. I thought that was great. And then Hudson, 3rd time pitching in the last 4 days, which means almost for sure he's not pitching again this series. So they'll be glad they have Graterol. Phillips warmed up but didn't pitch, so he'll probably be available. Obviously, Vessi didn't pitch. Joe Kelly didn't pitch. They've got the arms to let Hudson take a day or 2 off. But, I mean, the quality of the arms in that bullpen is kind of the performance we expected. What we've got in the last month or 2 has been out of the ordinary. Like, they shouldn't be this bad because they are too good at pitchers. And some of that was like, you know what, when your starters go a little deeper in the games, that helps. But it's not like the starters have consistently been going deep in games. They've had Flaherty and Glasnow, but River Ryan came out in the 5th inning.
Yeah.
So they had to get, they kind of got lucky that they had that big 9th inning on Saturday. So Kike could pitch that to save an inning for the bullpen. Little things like that make a big deal or make a big difference. But yeah, this bullpen, obviously we hope Trinan's injury isn't serious. I'd be inclined to probably put the word injury in air quotes talking about it. We've talked a lot about who's going to get sent down, who's going to go on the IL to make room for these guys. And, Trinan at his age and his injury history, a 2-week break for him, probably a no-brainer for them. And sure, how's your hip, Blake? Oh, kind of hurts. All right, why don't you take a couple weeks off? But hopefully the bullpen can keep it up, and hopefully the rotation. We're going to need Clayton Kershaw to give the Dodgers some length in this game to keep the bullpen fresh.
Yeah, I think with Banda specifically, I think it's one of those. Well, he's earned it to this point, but also they kind of need to see if he can be that guy for them in big situations, because like we talked about yesterday, like they're going to have to make decisions that involve guys that are pitching very well. Like, the bullpen is going to get a lot shorter than we think with some of these guys coming back. Michael Groves comes back. We'll see what they end up doing there. But it's, a little bit of a trial by fire. Like, hey, get in there. Here's a 1-run situation and against a team that hits a lot of homers in the A's and another team that hits a lot of homers in the Phillies. And, you didn't allow any home runs. And I think the other part, too, is maybe they noticed that Vessi, the velocity down, and, you can't necessarily expect him to you don't know if you can count on that right now. If his velocity goes down, his effectiveness goes down realistically. He's not a big velocity guy in general, but up in the zone with the mid 90s is a lot different than up in the zone with lower 90s. So I think they want to see if this can be a guy for them in October. And from the left side, pumping 97, 98 with that wipeout slider, I do think he can be that guy. Obviously, he doesn't have an issue necessarily in walking too many guys, but he does toe that line and getting close to, okay, this guy's good, but he also can be a little scary sometimes.
My brother during the game, sorry, was I muted? Did you? I was talking to my brother during the game about, do the Dodgers, would they take Vessi and Banda on the postseason roster? And maybe because you only need 4 starters, maybe you can afford to have that extra lefty, because if they're both pitching well, and like I said, they've both done well against lefties and righties, so they probably just focus on, okay, who's our best pitchers, not regardless of handedness. But Banda, like I mentioned the other day when we were talking about Honeywell and how they might DFA him, because I don't see him having a huge role in October because he doesn't have strikeout stuff. It is Banda, if he can have that strikeout stuff and, 97 fastball and that slider, that strikeout stuff, he could definitely earn himself a spot on the playoff roster and be somebody that we're actually excited to see.
Yeah. So, that there's a lot of questions on the bullpen, but I do think they will give themselves the time to figure it out. And obviously it's a little bit different now because you kind of need to keep winning games. The D-backs and Padres are both on a little bit of a hot streak of themselves. They both won, or one of them won on Monday night. I don't think the Padres played, but it's one of those where now the games matter a little more. So, maybe it's different. The last couple of years, we know that August, September has been kind of looking toward October and what that bullpen is going to look like, or rotation or lineup. And it's the same this year, but now it also counts a little bit more because they do need to keep winning.
Yep. Yeah, but it's looking good right now.
Yeah. So Michael Grove is with the team. He might come back this week, or, I don't know, this series. I know they were deciding between Grover and Gatterall before Monday's game. Dave Roberts didn't really say that if they activated one on Monday, if they were going to activate another one during the series, but whatever, we'll see what happens there. But it might be a matter of the Dodgers, once one of the guys they're planning on either DFAing or maybe ILing pitches on Tuesday, then maybe on Wednesday that'll be getting Grove in. It'd be interesting to see how they use Grove. Like if it ends up being at Honeywell's expense and they kind of maybe need a multi-inning reliever and maybe Grove steps in that role, but we've also seen him not be good in a multi-inning role. So we'll see. There's still a lot of question marks to kind of be had from this bullpen. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, Jeff, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Not really. I'll be at the game tomorrow. As you can tell from my different background and my choppy internet, I'm at my parents' house. This is our traditional choppy internet. So this is what I'll have this week. But I will be at the game. So if you're at the game, come by and say hi. I'll be sitting down in the baseline club on the third base side, like section 45. So hope to see a bunch of you there, and looking forward to seeing Kershaw on the mound, hopefully pitching well.
Yeah, hopefully. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us where you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check out, for your second listen of the day, check out Locked On MLB with our pal Sully. He's covering all the stuff going into the playoff races and into the postseason. So make sure to go check out Locked On MLB wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. You can also check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Sports Los Angeles is where you can get the Locked On Dodgers postcast after most Dodger games live with host Pete Fox. And also check that out on our audio feed. Beyond the podcast, come on Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There should be more activity there coming up, so make sure to go follow now. You can also find Jeff on Twitter at SnideDog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us if you have any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, tell your smart device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.